And so I thought we might focus on back today. This will be fairly gentle. We can certainly get involved in some movements and flows that can be challenging. And I'm intending that this won't be especially challenging, but will be good for loosening the back. Now, if you were with me Monday, you might recall we focused on the core. And I talked about the core being all the way around the center of the body. And so sometimes strengthening the back happens when we strengthen the abdominal muscles. So it may feel like a few of the things we do today are working the abs, but let me guarantee you they're also benefiting the back. Let's begin by closing our eyes and bringing your hands to the low ribs and just breathing, inhaling and exhaling. Letting the body calm. Emptying the mind of thoughts. Letting the body relax and sink into the mat. Beginning to associate with each exhale that softening, that relaxation, that loosening of the muscles. Becoming aware of the temperature of the room and the feel of the air on the skin. Noticing any noises inside or outside. Then bending the knees, letting the feet come to the mat, moving the hands down onto the stomach. Now we're going to go through a little motion that I've come to call low back undulations. And we've done this before. What I want you to do is on your inhale, pull the low back down into the mat. And on your exhale, release it. Let the low back come back to its natural arch. And continue to move through the undulations where inhale, the back pushes in, exhale, rises up. A small movement, but a movement that can be beneficial to the low spine and to the muscles down in that area. Come to stillness. We're going to raise the feet up off the mat so that the lower legs are parallel to the mat. Place the hands on the knees. Now, sometimes when we're in this position, I will ask you to hug the knees into the chest and ask you to pull tightly. We're not going to do that just now. We're going to do, again, a variation of a movement we've done in the past. What we're going to do is slide the legs forward just a little bit until the arms are outstretched, and then bring them back in. Slide forward until the arms are outstretched, and bring them back in. Forward until the arms are stretched, and bring back in. Now the hands are resting lightly on the knees, not exerting a lot of pressure. as we slide those feet forward and back. You might notice the movement of the back as we make this motion. This is also a motion that makes our abdominal muscles work. So this is an example of one of those movements that strengthens the abs as well as the back. 3 more, forward and back. And after that third one, you can bring the knees back down to the mat. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a couple of deep breaths. Now, I would like you to hug your knees into the chest, but not real tightly. Flex the feet so the toes point back to the knees. Now your hands might hold your knees a little bit more snugly than they did in what we had just done previously. And I want you to begin, I want you to bring your nose toward your knees. Bring that nose up and then let it go back. Now we're going to go through that motion several more times, and each time we do, we're going to hold the upright position, nose close to the knees, a little bit longer. And if it gets to a point where we're holding it too long for you, feel free to relax and let the head come back to the mat. Okay, second time. Nose comes up toward the knees. And back. 3. Nose comes up toward the knees. We're going to hold this a little bit longer. And back. We'll do 2 more of these. Number 4, nose comes up toward the knees. And back. Now we'll do 1 more. This will be the longest hold. And once again, if this gets to be too stressful, don't hesitate to relax back so that the head goes back to the mat. Just holding the knees up in this position is beneficial to the back and to the core. And relax back. Very good. Bring the hands down by the sides, palms face the mat. We're going to send the legs up in the air, crossing the right ankle over the left. Now you might send your arms out a little bit, not quite in T position, but a little bit away from the body for support. We're going to begin here by slowly letting the legs fall to the right. We'll get to a point where we have to stop. We'll come back to center and slowly let the legs fall to the left. Stop, come back to center. Slowly the feet come over to the right. Back to center and slowly over to the left. Continue this back and forth motion, this side to side motion of the feet. If it gets to be too much, don't hesitate to take a break and let the feet come down to the floor. The next time that the feet come from the left back to center, stop. Bring both feet to the mat. Let the legs go out long, feet relax, close the eyes, and just relax in this position for several breaths. Raise both legs up again, crossing the left ankle on top of the right. Let both feet slide over to the left, back to center, continuing over to the right, back to center, and to the left. And once again, letting the feet move side to side. The motion is slow and intentional. You may feel a little pull on the stomach throughout. And as always, if this gets to be too much, don't hesitate to take a break and bring the feet back to the mat. The next time that the feet come from the right, back to center, stop. Bring the feet to the mat, let the legs go long, close the eyes and relax in this position for several breaths. Now, let's bring the soles of the feet together back near the torso in a reclined bound angle pose. And let everything relax in this pose. Let the knees pull down toward the ground. Gravity pulls them. Relax the thighs. Relax especially the back muscles, and especially those of the low back. Bring the knees back up together. Hands are now down by the sides. Palms are flat on the mat. We'll move through this very simple motion here. Knees are bent. What we're going to do is lift the feet up so that the lower legs are parallel to the mat. And then we're going to slowly and with control lower them back down to the mat. As you do this, as you lift the legs a second time, you might push your palms and forearms into the mat and then release. And we'll do this several more times, holding the legs up in the air a little longer each time. Up come the feet. As you do this and you're pulling your knees a little bit back toward your chest, you may feel the low back push down into the mat. Feet come back down to the mat slowly and with control. Let's raise the legs again. We'll hold them a little bit longer up in this position. And release. Two more. Legs come up. And back down. Last one. Legs up. We'll hold this just a little bit longer. And down. Very good. Okay. Right leg is going to lift, foot is going to go up toward the ceiling. We're going to maybe hold the back of that right leg while the left knee remains bent, and pull that leg back toward the chest. Then bend the right knee and bring the right ankle over the left thigh. Send the arms away in a T position or in cactus arms, and begin to let that right foot come down toward the mat. Now keep your shoulders flat on the mat. Your right foot might come all the way down to the floor, or like mine, it might not quite make it. My right hip is always tight, and it limits sometimes how far that right foot will move in a position like this one. You have the option, if you wish to deepen this twist just a little bit, of looking over the right fingertips, but that's not required, it's not necessary, but you might try that if you'd like. In addition to putting some stretch into the right hip, this movement is also making a little twist in the low back. And that's why we like it today. This is one of those positions that will hold for just a little bit to get the benefit from it. Bring that knee and foot back straight up and send that right foot back up toward the ceiling. Sole of the foot faces the ceiling. Maybe flex the foot so we stretch the back of the leg. And then release that right foot back to the mat. Left foot extends up in the air. We pull that left leg back toward the chest, stretching the back of the leg. Then bend the left knee, bringing the left ankle over the right thigh, letting the arms go back out into T position, and dropping that left foot to the right, down toward the floor. Stretching the left hip and putting a twist in the back in the other direction. You have the option of gazing over the left fingertips if you'd like to do that. As we did on the other side, we'll hold this pose a little bit longer than we sometimes hold poses. Bring that left foot and right knee back up to center. Send the left leg straight. Left foot goes up toward the ceiling. Flex that left foot while pulling back on that left leg. Right leg stays bent. And bring the left foot to the mat. And roll over so you're on your stomach in a prone position. Of course, you want to orient yourself in a way that you can see your screen. Begin by bringing the forehead down to the mat and bring the hands under the shoulders. We're going to move through 5 baby cobras. And the first one we're going to hold for 10 seconds. And then the second one, 15, 20, 25, and 30. By the time we get to 30, it might feel like a really long stretch. So if that happens, feel free to come back down and relax if it's too much. The other thing I want to say as we move into these low cobras is that don't feel like you've got to really lift your chest and shoulders far off the mat. These can be gentler, lower baby cobras. Hands are under shoulders, feet are together, toes touch, foreheads on the mat. Let's do our first one. Lift into baby cobra. Very little weight in the hand. This is our 10-second cobra. And release, let the head come down. On an inhale, come up for our second baby cobra. Again, remember that you don't need to put a whole lot of bend in the back here. Just a little bit will be fine. Try to keep the head and neck aligned and release. Here we come with our third. This will be the 20-second baby cobra. Here we go. Up. And release. Ready for the next to the last one. Move into baby cobra. Up we go. Remember to breathe when you're in your cobra position. It's easy to get up and hold a position and forget that we need to breathe. And come back down. Last one. Move into your baby cobra. This will be our 32nd one. This is going to be a challenge, baby. And once again, if it gets uncomfortable, if it gets too hard to hold, don't hesitate to come out of it. And release. Very good. Now, bring the hands in front, crossing them so they're parallel to the short edge of the mat. Let the head rest on the hands there for a moment. Bend the knees and slowly windshield wiper the feet side to side. This will put a little twist in the low back and give some relief to that tension we created with our low cobras. Come to stillness with the legs and let them come back down. Now, while we keep our hands in this position, I want you from the hip to raise the left leg up, several inches off the mat, and then down. Right leg up, several inches off the mat, and then down. Left leg again, up, and down. Right leg up, and down. Each side one more time. Left leg comes up, and down. Right leg up, and down. Now, this next movement might be a little more challenging. If it's too hard, you stay with one leg, but we're now going to move both legs up off the mat. They probably won't go quite as high. And if that's not in your practice this morning, feel free to just do one leg. and down. Both legs up. And down. One more time. Both legs up. And down. Very good. Move your hands back to the low cobra position. We're now going to combine low cobra and our leg movement that we just did. Begin by raising the chest and head up off the mat in low cobra, very little weight in the hands, and then bring the feet up off the mat and relax. Again, move into the low cobra position, feet come up off the mat, and relax. Release everything. One more time. Move up into low cobra. Raise the feet up off the mat. And relax. Very good. Once again, bend the knees, bring the arms across in front. And windshield washer's knees side to side. And knees come to stillness, feet come down to the mat. Now we're going to make a little flow out of all of this. We're going to move through a flow here, beginning in our low cobra position. So we're going to bring the hands under the shoulders. We're going to start much the way we did here in this past movement. We're going to begin by making sure the feet are together, toes are touching. We're going to lift into low cobra. Lift the legs up off the mat. Drop the legs down and push through the hands into our high cobra. Then we're going to come back into a child's pose. Head comes down to the mat or close to it. Knees stay together. And then forward, back flat on our stomachs. Head comes to the mat. Again, up into our low cobra. Legs come up. Legs come down. We push up into a high cobra. And then back into a child's pose. Come forward, flat on the mat. We'll do two more of these. We'll raise the chest and head, low cobra. Feet come up off the mat. Feet come down to the mat, and we push into our high cobra. And then slide back into a child's pose. Come forward. Prone position, flat on our bellies. Forehead on the mat. Last one. Rise up into cobra. Feet come off the mat. Legs and feet come down. We push into the hands, into our high cobra. And slide back into our child's pose. And come forward. Cross the arms in front once again. Let the forehead rest on the hands. We're in our crocodile pose here. We're going to begin by bending the right knee and as near as we can, bringing this upper part of the right leg out perpendicular from the body and the lower part of the leg parallel to the long edge of the mat. And we're going to just sink into this pose for several breaths, letting the belly sink down toward the mat, letting the inner hip feel heavy, relaxing that lower leg. Now extend that right leg long and bend the left knee, bringing the upper left leg perpendicular to the body, lower left leg parallel to the long edge of the mat. Let the forehead rest on the hands. And just relax in this crocodile position with the left knee bent. Let the hips sink down toward the mat. This puts a very gentle pressure, a little bit of a compression on the low back. Extend the left leg long. Bend both knees and windshield wiper the feet side to side. Do that slowly. And as you get to the far right and to the far left, feel the effect on the low spine. If you're feeling unnecessary, undue discomfort, don't let the feet go quite so far. And let the legs come to stillness. Bring the feet down to the mat. Bring the big toes together. Push back, letting the knees go wide and sinking the hips back toward the heels and coming down into a traditional child's pose where the knees are wide. Forehead comes to the mat. Sometimes I'll offer you the opportunity for different hand positions in your child's pose. This morning, I'd like your arms to be out in front. If you have the capacity to sink the hips a little closer to the heels, do that. Come forward into a tabletop pose. Slide the hips back toward the heels. We're going to move into a seated position. And one of the things, let me turn sideways here for a moment. One of the things I want to point out is that if your hamstrings and hips are tight, you may have a little bit of an arch to your back, and you can probably see it with me. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you may have a little bit of an arch to your back because those muscles are not releasing. You want to be able to sit up straight. And oftentimes, and this is true anytime I'm in a seated position myself, you might want to sit on a blanket, a folded blanket, or a block. I'll choose to sit on a blanket this morning. But we're going to move here into a seated position. And we want the spine to be straight. We really don't want any arch in the back. The down by the tailbone might turn in. We don't want that. Start with the arms out by the sides. Hands raise up, palms come together. And as we bring the hands back down, we're going to twist to the left, bringing the right hand to the left knee. Left hand back behind left hip. Not much pressure here. This hand is just resting on the knee, not pulling. And you want to be cognizant that the crown of the head is lifting up, that the spine is straight. The benefit to us today for this twist is the effort that's required in the low back, that twisting down there of that low spine, helping to keep it loose and flexible. Arms rise up as we come back to center. We twist to the other side. Left hand comes to right knee, right hand behind right hip. Once again, making sure the crown of the head is lifting up and the spine is straight. The hand is resting lightly on the knee. And we might bring our focus to the low back as we're in this twist. Come back to center, let the arms come up, and then bring the hands down to the sides. Let's send the legs out straight. And we move the legs up and down, loosening those legs. We're going to move into a seated forward fold. And as we do, let the feet be relaxed. They might even fall out to the sides just a little bit, but no tension in the feet, no tension in the ankles. Try and remember that and keep that as we move into our forward fold. Arms are going to come up. And we're going to do our fold, trying to bring the belly button, let it be the guide. So the belly button folds forward, keeping the back and head in line. And we get to a point, for me, it's not very far, when we can't fold any further. And then we can let the arms come down and the head drop, remembering to keep those feet flexed. So now the benefit to the back is the stretch that we put across the entire back as we fold forward. From time to time in poses like this, we might find that as we exhale, we can fold forward a little bit more. Maybe not. Come back up. Arms are high. Now I want you to flex your feet, pulling the toes toward the knees. And I want you to keep them that way as you fold forward again. Now don't hesitate to bend the knees a bit in a movement like this one. And as you get to your edge, you can let the head and neck relax and drop forward. Come back up. Arms come overhead. Now, bring the hands back down. Take the left leg and bring the left foot into either the left shin. In fact, let's do that. Let's stop there. Let's bring the left foot to the left shin this morning. My knee stays up off the ground a bit. Hands are by the sides. We're going to fold forward one more time. Arms come up. And we're going to fold over that extended, I think I said, so that's the left foot onto the right thigh. However, we'll do the opposite in a moment. Come back up, arms come high, arms come down, legs go long, and do the opposite of whichever you did last time. If I'm doing right foot onto left shin this time, but you may be the opposite depending on what you did. Arms are out by the sides, hands come up, and we fold forward one last time. As we get to the edge, the knee might bend a little bit of the extended leg. it can relax. Come back up, and from your seated position, see if you can bend your knees and bring your feet back toward the torso. Now I'm going to try this. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to move up into a mountain pose in a way we haven't done before. At least you haven't done with me before. And if this doesn't work for you, you get into mountain pose any way you can. But what I'm going to do is bring my hands back by my hips to support and push up, coming forward into a kind of a squat while I'm up on my toes. So if you can get up into that squat, that's great. From there, you can begin to lift the hips and drop the head, folding forward into our forward fold. Once you get into the forward fold, relax everything. And then you can either stay in the forward fold or see if you can come back down into that squat that we had just a few seconds ago. And then once again, lift the hips and come up into the forward fold. So we'll all be in a forward fold now. Flat back on an inhale, come up, hands come to shins or thighs, back is parallel to the mat. Exhale, fold. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, pushing the feet into the mat, rising all the way up, bringing the hands up high overhead, palms come together, and hands come to heart center. We're going to move through several half sun salutations where we fold and come back up into mountain. That's a good movement for loosening the back. We're going to start with the hands by the sides in our mountain pose. While we're here, just glance down and check that your feet are about hips width distance apart. And feel the balance, feel your foundation. On an inhale, let the arms come up, turn the palms away, fold forward. Bend the knees as much as you need to take any discomfort out of the back and the hamstrings. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Hands come high. Palms come together and then to heart center. Hands start by the sides. Palms come up, palms come together. Palms turn away, we fold forward, bending the knees. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, fold. And then inhale all the way back up. Hands come together, palms to heart center, and then arms by the sides. We're going to move through a kind of a variation of our typical side stretch that we do in mountain pose sometimes. Begin by sending the arms out so they're parallel to the floor. Left hand comes to left hip, right arm stretches up high, really pulling. And while you're stretching, then you begin to tilt over to the left. Come back up, send the arms out long. Right hand to right hip, left arm goes way high in the air, pulling, pulling, pulling. And then we do a stretch over to the right. We come back up, arms are out by the side, parallel to the floor. And then we bring the hands down. So we're in our traditional mountain pose. Once again, arms extend out, Left hand to left hip, right arm raises high. And then we twist, we bend over to the left. Upright, arms parallel to the floor. Right hand to right hip, left arm extends high. And we twist over to our right, or bend to our right. Upright, arms are out, and hands come down to the side. One more time through that sequence. Arms come out, parallel to the floor. Left hand to left hip, right hand extends, reaching up toward the ceiling. And then we bend over to the left. Coming upright, arms extend. Left hand to left hip, right hand rises high up, stretching that side, then bending over to the right. Back up, arms out, into our mountain pose. So from the tops of our mats, we're in mountain pose. Arms come up, palms come together. Palms turn away, we're going to fold forward. And as we fold forward, we'll plant the hands and come down to the knees. We'll slide the hips back to the heels. And then swing the feet around, coming back down onto our backs. Bend the knees, feet flat on the mat. We're going to move through a little flow here. It'll be good for our back, as has been so many of the things that we've done this morning. Begin by sending the arms overhead. So we're stretching here. Then bring the arms forward and the feet off the mat, hugging the knees to the chest. Keep the feet together, but let the knees go wide. Bring the knees back towards each other and gently bring both knees several inches over to the right. Your left hip might rise up off the mat a bit. Bring the knees back to center and gently go over to the left 3 or 4 inches. Your right hip might come off the mat. Come back to center, keep the feet together, let the knees go wide. Bring the knees back, hands come behind the legs as the feet go toward the ceiling and we pull the extended legs back toward the chest. Knees bend, feet come back to the mat, arms extend overhead. We'll move through that sequence another time. Knees come towards the chest, hands grasp the knees. Feet stay together, knees come wide apart. Knees come together and then both knees roll over several inches to the right. Back to center, knees come over to the left. Back to center, feet stay together, knees go wide. Knees come together, hands behind thighs, legs extend, feet towards ceiling, pulling the legs back toward the chest. Knees bend, the feet come to the mat, arms come out long overhead. We're going to do that one more time, and this time we're going to do it a little bit more slowly, holding each part of each position a little longer. Here we go. Feet come up, knees come toward chest, hands grasp knees. Feet stay together, knees go wide. Knees come together, and then the knees drop 3 or 4 inches over to the right. Knees back to center, and then over to the left. Knees back to center, feet touch, but the knees spread wide apart. Knees come together, hands come behind the thighs, legs extend, feet toward ceiling. Pull the legs in toward the chest. Bend the knees, release the feet, feet come to the mat. Hands extend overhead. And then we bring the hands down to the side. Very good. Okay, we're going to try a variation of bridge pose here that'll be good for the back. We did this once before, but you might not have been with me when we did it. Let's begin with a traditional bridge pose. Feet flat on the mat, heels back near the torso. Let's lift the hips up. And back down. Now, send the feet a couple of inches forward and come on the heels. Now move into bridge from this position. The back doesn't go up quite so high. And down. Move the feet forward a couple more inches. Come up on the heels. Bridge pose, hips come up. And down. A couple more inches forward. Up on the heels. Move the hips up. Now you really start to notice that the hips can't go up quite so high. And down. A little further. Feet go forward. On the heels. Up. And down. And now this time the feet should be extended all the way. And you're going to try and lift the hips up here, and they're not going to come up hardly at all, if at all. But at least you'll feel that motion. And down. Now we'll reverse. Heels come back toward the torso just a bit, a couple inches. We're on the heels. Hips come up and down. Bring those heels back toward the torso a bit more. Hips come up and down. Bring those heels back a little closer. Hips up and down. And now bring the heels back. Let the feet be flat on the mat in your normal bridge position. And send the hips up one last time into bridge pose. And then let the hips come down. Okay, last thing we'll do is hug the knees into the chest. Pulling the knees in a little bit more tightly. Rocking side to side, massaging the low back. Consider moving the knees around, letting one knee go forward while one knee comes back. And come to stillness, let the feet come to the mat. Let's move into our final resting pose, Shavasana. Let the feet go long. Relax the feet, let them fall away. Hands are down by the hips, arms are long. Palms might turn up and face the ceiling. Eyes are closed. We'll breathe gently through the nose. Feeling, hopefully, some of the benefits of our practice today. begin to come back to the present, breathing a bit more deeply, bringing some gentle motion to the body. Maybe bending the knees and letting them shift side to side. Bending and straightening the elbows. And when you're ready, bend your knees and roll over onto one side. While you were in Shavasana, I've been in an easy seated pose, and I'm a little surprised. I guess I shouldn't be, but I notice as I'm sitting in this position that my low back feels much more relaxed than it did before we started practice. I hope you find a similar experience. When you're ready, push yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Let the arms, hands be down by your sides. Eyes closed. And then raise the hands up, bringing the palms together. And bring the hands to heart center. May the sun bring you new happiness by day. May the moon softly restore you by night. May the rain wash away your worries and the wind blow new strength into your being. May you walk gently through the world and see its beauty. Namaste.